Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting LLC for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. All right, welcome everybody to the Orange Hammer Podcast. Today, Kelsey has joined me. Kelsey, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We can even push this and you can
okay.
relax and lean back and all that jazz. So this is probably, not probably, 100% the strangest connection with a podcast guest ever. R.I.P. Sure. Grandpa Les. But let's see if I remember it correctly. He basically tried to have you met my friend Ted.
Yes.
with his doctor in Florida.
Who's my father, yeah.
Who's your father, and your father was like, I've got a single daughter in Raleigh who I need to have you met my daughter Ted as well. And next thing you know, my grandfather texts me a phone number of your cell phone.
Yep.
And we had a drink and nothing came of it, but
Sure.
That's cool. But that's hysterical.
Yeah.
I mean, literally wingmanned by our dad and grandfather.
Yeah, like your grandpa's rheumatologist set you up.
It's like...
Not great.
It's hysterical.
It was,
it is great.
Hilarious.
I want to clarify. It's amazing because here we are now.
Right.
Yeah. But in the topic of my podcast, you're a realtor and a pretty good realtor.
I try.
You try. Well, you make a living out of it.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and you transferred from, if I remember, from bartending full-time into real estate?
Yes.
Okay, so why the switch?
I think I was maybe 29 when I had been bartending for 10 years after college, and I was just kind of ready to try something else. The hours were crazy. I was working at a soccer bar, and so when the English soccer teams played at noon in England, 5 hours earlier. So I was having to start my day super early in the morning.
Was that the bar we got a drink at? Because I remember some soccer scarves all over the place.
Yes, it was.
Like wood interior.
Yeah, I was probably like, I'm going to take this stranger to somewhere I work so that if he's a serial killer, I have witnesses.
Well, that was
fair. Probably my line of thought.
Also, I think realistically, your line of thought was like, my besties are working, so we're going to get doubles.
Super fun. Yeah.
Which I was all for.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was just working these crazy hours, and games are on the weekends, but also weekend nights are bar nights.
Yeah.
So I would have to work from the morning through to the night. I would get an hour or two of sleep and then go back to work the next morning for a game.
So your life is just that job.
I was just exhausted. I mean, I was only working 4 days a week, but those still. 4 days I was getting like 45 to 50 hours of work in 4 days. I was just exhausted.
Yeah, it's like being a nurse, where it's like you may only have the 4 shifts, but you have to factor in like, well, I'm not supposed to be up for 14 straight hours, but I am, so I then have to rest an appropriate amount of time, and like that 4-day shift is really like 6 days when you start factoring it in terms of a social life. It shrinks.
I found that so many people would come up to me and be like, I don't know how you do it, and I was like, I don't either. It's just, this is my job. This is how I make money. This is how I afford to live. So I just kind of kept doing it. At one point, I think in 2017, I injured my back at work and had to have surgery. And I was like laid out. I had some ruptured discs. It was like a whole thing. And so I was like, I think that maybe physically and mentally, I just can't do this anymore.
You were like, I'm going to grab a keg, one in each hand, and just like throw these up
I'm
the
like
steps.
Fully the She-Hulk.
Superman. Superwoman, excuse me.
Thank you. So yeah, I just was exhausted. And I was like, I think I need to do something else, maybe that has a more steady income, which I did not realize real estate does not have a steady income. It's also it's fully commission based. So if I don't do the work, I don't get the money, which is a little bit difficult as well.
But also fair at some level.
Right, for sure. But there's no like salary if you don't have a client for a month, you don't get paid that month.
No, for sure. Yeah.
So
I mean, that's my life.
Right. It's also stressful in that way, but I was just ready to do something different. I knew I really liked talking to people from working in the service industry for so long and helping people. And also like, I was just like, I'm nosy. I want to get in to see these houses. I want to see what's going on in Raleigh. I was interested in buying a house too at the time when I started. So I just jumped in, and I really like school. I've always been really good at school. So I was like, oh, a real estate class. That's like a way I can start taking the class. I can learn about it. I can get really good at it before I start the actual job. And I can feel like I'm really jumping into something with all the knowledge I need, which was not the case.
Oh, okay.
The real estate class it teaches you the laws, and it teaches you what you're not legally allowed to do or say, but it has no real world practical experience.
So it doesn't teach you how to be a realtor.
Not at all.
It basically is just like, this is a don't do this list.
Right. Yeah. It's like, don't do these things. You'll get written up. You can get, things that are legally gray. So
my GC class was a joke. It was solely like a 3-day class to teach you how to take the test.
Yeah.
It
so
was this is not how to be a GC.
This was 90 hours. Yeah. It was a lot of class time, but there's no like, I can't tell you right now one thing that I learned in that class that has been practical and useful in my daily work.
That's unfortunate.
Right. But it's important that, I think because anyone can be a realtor, I think it's important that there is some sort of benchmark that you have to study.
There's an exam.
There's 2 exams. There's one to pass the class. At least there was then. I think during the pandemic when everything was online, they don't do the class exam anymore because they have no way to moderate whether or not you're cheating.
Right.
Because ours was all in class. And then there's the state exam, which is, you're in like a separate little booth and you have to go into their computer.
We test in the same facility for my GC license. In fact, at the exact moment, there were like 20 GC dudes, and you can tell us all because we look like GCs. And then there was like this woman in like a gorgeous dress with no books. And I was like, do you work for a GC? Yeah. Oh, no, I'm just doing my real estate license. And I was like, oh, same room, same computer. Like, yeah, this is just PSI testing quarters. Right. We don't care what test you're taking. Yeah. But do you know, because I don't, because I've had some realtors on and they've never mentioned that class. Is that required?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can't get licensed without taking and passing the class. And so there's
I thought it was just the state exam.
There's a 75-hour course that you have to take you can't sign up for that exam without having taken the 75-hour course. And then within the first, I want to say year, you have to take 90 other hours. There's 3 30-hour classes that you then also have to pass called post-licensing. Once you get your license, there's other classes. Also kind of not super helpful for a new like I wasn't learning every day like, oh man, I'm going to be so good at my job because I took these classes.
Yeah. That is the continuing ed for my GC license is a joke.
Yeah. So we do CE as well.
Respectfully to any, people who are listening, and I want you to write in and we should even talk about it. And I'd love for you to come on, but having, they only required the continuing education a couple of years ago. So you're doing like 8 to 10 hours a year.
Yeah.
Which is basically like you sign up for an all day Zoom class. And I remember like the most recent one I did, I mean, it was literally like a check-in on the most basic. It was like, okay, we start with the foundation, and you can use blocks, or you can use this, or if for a special occasion, you can use this. And I was like, we know this.
Right.
This
This is barely a refresher course. Also, not one person taking that class is building a foundation.
Right.
We're hiring a foundation expert.
Right.
That's what we do. So I was like, this is not intelligent. This is solely an excuse for the state to collect money. And you should
Right.
just lie and say, pay to renew your license every year.
Right.
It would be more honest.
So you don't have to pay to renew your license?
No, you do.
Oh, I was like, we do too.
No, I'm sorry.
On top of
I'm
that.
saying what I'm saying is instead of making us pay $150 to take this class every year where we get 8 hours of bullshit.
Right.
Just say to renew your license is whatever it was plus $150 and let's
Sure.
just call it a day.
Right.
Like we're not learning anything.
Yeah.
But, I'm not in charge of state legislation for
Right.
licensing.
Yeah,
Just
we
know
have a
that
lot
it's
of
joke.
options for CE. There are like some that are totally a joke, which some people prefer because you can just skate through it and get your credit. Last year, I took a CE class at Wake Tech, and it was in person.
Nice.
And a couple other people from my office. We all went together, and it's this guy who teaches you how. And most of the people in the class I was taking, which counted for CE, were just civilians, for lack of a better word. They weren't in real estate. They were just taking this course at Wake Tech because they wanted to learn.
It wasn't.
So
it
was
part of
it was
a bigger
about
major?
it was about real estate investing. So no, it was mostly people who weren't like currently in college.
Okay.
It was just people who wanted to start buying
Maybe,
rental
but-
properties
yeah.
and learning about the investment side. And so I took that class, and it was actually very helpful. And then I got credit. Like I would have taken that class if I didn't get CE credit for it, but because I did.
See, now that
it was
is
cool.
more interesting. That
Right.
makes sense.
The other ones I'd taken in the past were all, like you said, a Zoom meeting where, you get a little message. It's like, I can only see half your face. And you're like, okay, I'm here.
Oh, yeah. No, we had like proctors.
And there's no tests, but there's
No,
somebody
there
always
was no
watching
exam.
you to make sure
It
you're
was-
not like
it was
nodding off.
It was hysterical.
Yeah.
And it's like you got to check in 10 minutes before, and then the lady is like, I am the proctor. If I do not see you for more than 11 seconds,
Yep.
you fail.
Yep.
If you log off, you fail. If you run out of battery, you fail. Like, plug your shit in. We don't care.
Right.
There's no excuse we haven't heard. You just fail. You got to do it again. Everyone's like, whoa. Calm it down,
Right.
Miss Lady proctoring a Zoom class.
Yeah.
You're the most useless person on the planet. Let's just be clear. Like, whoa. And it just like, it's not it's not an inviting thing. Also, I have to like, for all of the shitting on it I'm doing, I guess I have to be like an unbiased person and be like, they basically started this in the pandemic.
Right.
And it's very new. And maybe 5 years from now, we'll have more classes with specialties, and you could take like this is what's brand new in decking, or this
Right.
is what's brand new in this field. Because that's interesting. If you gave me if you broke it into 2-hour sections and you were like, we're talking from 12 to 2 about, the newest type of material that just hit the market
Right.
and why it's good and bad and how you use it. I'm like, okay. That's kind of cool. I'd love to
I would also
learn.
enjoy taking that class as a realtor. I'd love to know
Right,
that kind
because
of stuff too.
you could then, because that knowledge translates for you, because you get to go to a home you're showing to somebody and be like, did you know that that's the newest type of
Right.
whatever?
Or like, oh, if you don't have a deck, there's this new deck that I just learned about. And then you
Yeah,
sound
yeah.
like you're,
You sound like you know
when
what
you
you're
tell
talking
people
about.
you're taking classes and you're educating yourself, I think it makes you, look a little better. So
Yeah. Speaking of it making you look a little bit better, like general contractors, we're a dime a dozen and there's a million of us. How do you separate yourself?
So when my first year of real estate was, I started in February of 2020. So if you'll remember, a month later, everything shut down, full blown pandemic. So the first year was really rough. Honestly, if it hadn't been for the unemployment checks that I was able to get, I wouldn't have been able to stay in the field. But I also couldn't have gone back to bartending because bars were closed.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
everything that I know how to do and was doing for money was kind of screwed. So
Is that scary in that
it was
moment?
It was terrifying.
Because I'm lucky that is the opposite for me.
Right.
I was building. I kept building.
Right.
We were deemed essential, and I'm already a recluse. So I was like, cool, now you're not allowed to bother me?
Right.
Go away.
If I had been in the house that I just bought, I would have been like, oh, this is great. I'll stay in this beautiful home that I own forever.
Yeah.
But I was in, not a nice, super nice house before. So, and also that first year was tough because I was at one of these, I don't want to name names, like a big box realty company, like
Gotcha.
a huge corporate company
Gotcha.
where the training was, they advertised themselves of having all this training, but it was also so theoretical, similar
Training
to the
for
class.
you?
Yeah, for us.
Oh,
They
okay.
provided training to new agents, but because I had never had a client or done a deal, the training was so theoretical that I couldn't learn it. Really what I wanted was I wanted to shadow an agent and
Right.
watch how they do every
Right.
step of the job.
Yeah.
Without, I wasn't asking for them to pay me. I was like, I just want to be here and see what you're doing. And
almost
then,
like an internship.
right. And I was totally cool with that. But then because everything was closed down, there weren't open houses that I could just go to with another agent and see how they do an open house because those were not happening.
That all went online eventually.
Right. So that whole first year was really difficult. And then I decided at the end of that year that I was just not happy with my company as well as the the circumstances. And I kind of put the feelers out. I was thinking about going to a smaller brokerage, and then Monarch Realty, which is where I work now, actually they reached out to me on LinkedIn just kind of randomly. And we're just like, hey, if you're looking for a new place, we'd love to interview. And I was in Florida at the time visiting my family. And I was like, you know what, when I get back, that sounds great. I think I would I'll just start interviewing for a couple places. And I actually missed that first interview. I just completely forgot about it and didn't show up.
Not a great look.
I know. And I was shocked that they asked me to come. They're like, are you sure you can come back? And I was like, are you sure? Because I didn't even call and cancel. I just straight up blew it off and forgot. And then I went back. I had a great interview with, at that point, we had a different broker in charge. His name was Chris. He was great. And I signed on with Monarch, and it's been a whole totally different experience.
Well, it's I'm going to give kudos to Monarch for not writing you off. I mean, that's unprofessional as hell. But at the same time, everybody was going through a lack of people and a lack of good people. And I think we still are a little bit. I think I'm stealing a comedian's joke, but people were like, we want to get paid more, and companies were like, no, and everything just got 8% shittier.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Sure.
Every service is down. Customer service there, customer service there, quality of food, everything's just 8% shittier. Just because they were like, well, we're just going to work at the same cost, but you're not going to pay me. I'm not going to give you the effort you deserve. And so I don't even know whose side I'm on, but I'm just living in the world where everything's 8% shittier in America because I haven't traveled outside of it yet.
Right. Never?
No, since the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or actually, no, that's not true. I was just in Mexico.
I was also just in Mexico.
I forgot. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah. I was in Mexico City for the first time and Merida for the first time, which I would not go back to Mexico City, and I would go back to Merida infinitely. I'm not trying to shit on Mexico City, but it is a massive city, and it's not unique.
Sure.
It's just a big city, and there's awesome stuff to do, and I did awesome stuff, but there are at least 15 off the top of my head other massive cities I'd want to visit before I was let me just go back to a gridded city of Mexico City.
Yeah.
Whereas Merida is unique, and it might have 1 million people, but it feels small, and it's in the Yucatan. It's it's at sea level. Mexico City's way up in the mountains. I did not know that when I packed.
I would have had no idea.
I brought beach clothes to Mexico City, and it was cold. And all my friends looked at the weather, and I did not. And I was like, well, I've got 5 tank tops for 6 days. Ha ha! Yeah. And I was the idiot walking around. Everyone's in jeans and jackets.
Yeah. Whoopsies.
But yeah, circling it back.
Yeah.
So Monarch takes you, they hire you, but my question kind of still remains, why does John Doe call you instead of anyone else from Monarch or not Monarch for that matter?
Yeah. So it's interesting. We've just got a new broker in charge as of December. Her name is Lizzie. She's wonderful. And we've been having, group meetings twice a week actually. And we've been having this discussion a lot, what sets us as a company apart, and then what sets individually agents, what we all have, what are our strengths. And so we've been talking about it a lot. I think that Monarch we service the entire triangle area, whatever, but our main focus is we say we are downtown. Our office is downtown Raleigh. We do a lot of research. We just had a condo tour with all of our agents. We each were assigned a different downtown Raleigh condo complex. We studied them, we learned about them, and then we each presented on each one and did as many tours as we were allowed with any listings.
Okay. So you'll do it all, but you have a niche.
Right. We try to know the downtown market and this, the condo market, or, anything inside the Beltline.
Okay.
Where I just bought my house, Southeast Raleigh, is kind of the next frontier, in my opinion. You go down Newbern, things are starting to develop that way. And it's really the only inside the Beltline place where it's still pretty affordable to buy a home.
Oh, everything's relative, yeah.
Right. But I mean, compared to you're getting, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house that's right next to downtown might be $600,000, Whereas I just bought a 4-bedroom, 4.5-bath home 7 minutes from downtown for less than $500,000.
Yeah. And I definitely want to talk about your house. That's like part B of this episode for sure. And that does make sense because like my realtor, she's been on Stacy Sloan, nothing but a positive shout out. Stacy Sloan, once again, Weston Woodall. Stacy Sloan, Weston Woodall. We'll just keep saying it on repeat. Like she would do anything I need, but she would also be the first one to say that like she is not an expert at everything.
Right.
And she was, in fact, it impressed me when at one point, not anymore, but at one point I was looking at commercial real estate to start a brewery. Long story. We don't have to get into it. And she had the, like, I don't know, just the honesty to be like, you know what? This is his number. I'm just not that person.
Yeah.
But we work together and he's great. And just like, you know, come back to me when you are in the, you know,
residential
houses under $1 million or whatever her lane is. You know, I'm sure she'd love to sell $1 million house. We're just not in that lane with her.
Sure.
But like, you know, even when I was looking for land, she was like, I'm your girl. Like, if you want to find somebody, cool. But like, I sell land all day long. But like, we've never even thought about looking in Raleigh, let alone the Beltline. So like,
but like, and in that case, I know nothing about land sales.
Right.
I would say, you know, we have other people in our office who might be better equipped. And then I would probably say, you know, I want to partner with that person. I want to follow them so I can learn how to know land sales, but I'm not going to risk someone's huge investment purchase on me just pretending I know what I'm doing.
Right. So what would, like if you had a pick, like let's say, you know, 25 new customers show up in a day and they're looking for
interesting day.
Obviously it's impossible, but like, let's just live in this hypothetical and all of them want distinctly different things,
Sure.
but you're the first up and you get to pick based on like what you think you're best at. What would it be? Is it like single family homes? Is it condos? You just said it's not land. It's probably not commercial.
Sure.
So like if you could pick your like ideal client looking for an ideal type of home in an ideal location, like is it condos in the Beltline? Like what is it?
I think for me, for my company, it's probably condos or any sort of downtown. Our company also does commercial. So you know, the owner of my company owns Transfer Co. Food Hall in downtown Raleigh, so he's got a lot of commercial experience as well. For me personally, my favorite thing to do is first-time home buyers. I love helping people find, you know, maybe it doesn't tick every box, but it's a dream of theirs. They've been saving for this. I really understand the importance of that. And up until 3 weeks ago, I had never bought a home myself. And so I understood the you know, you always want to. It's a goal you have. You finally get the money together. And you think it's something you can accomplish. I love helping people find their first home, even though sometimes, you know, people think they're going to get 10 things out of 10 things, their dream things, and you have to kind of coach them like maybe 8 out of 10 is okay.
Life is all about compromise.
Right. Yeah, you're not you're
So what would you say to what would we say to first time home buyers? Cuz like the advice I'd give like we probably have a pretty overlapping Venn diagram of advice we would both give, even though contractor and realtor, like we want you to get a nice house too.
Sure.
There are different things. So for example, like one thing that I would immediately be like is like, don't trust an inspector. Get your ass in that crawl space right now. Get in there with a Tyvek suit and a flashlight and see what's up. Like
it depends on the person,
eyes on it.
Because if someone if you have a client who knows nothing about construction or crawl spaces and you tell them like get in the crawl space, they don't know what they're even looking for.
I mean, yes, that's true, but like you don't have to be intelligent to know, oh, there's a giant puddle of water.
Sure.
Like,
or like
that's probably not
a family of raccoons.
That shouldn't be there. Or like, oh, I'm in the crawl space and I can see daylight 7 spots.
Right.
Like you know what? I'm talking out of turn.
I would
Maybe
say that not a
people
lot
aren't
of people
that dumb.
don't. A lot of people, I wouldn't say dumb, but uninformed.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people wouldn't even know what to begin to look for.
Touche. Dumb is rude. I'm going to walk that back. But I'm getting heated just because like I literally started this podcast because people don't know.
Right.
And for me in the industry, it's so blatantly obvious.
Right.
It's like, what do you mean you didn't see the burst pipe and the puddle of water?
Sure.
Did you go in the crawl space? They're like, no, I had a home inspection. he just gets paid for the inspection. He doesn't care.
Right.
He doesn't care about your home. He doesn't care about you. You're number 76 on a list.
Well, it depends on the inspector.
No, I'm sorry. There are good inspectors, but they just get paid for the inspection. They do not care about your home. They do not care about you as the home buyer. I'm not trying to even shit on inspectors, but we have to be realistic about what they are employed to do. The person you hire to paint your walls doesn't give a shit about anything other than that.
Yeah.
Like, it's unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, the inspector that I use, I would say, he's told clients, don't buy this house. Like he has said, I found this, this, and this. I don't think this, you do what you want to. I wouldn't recommend the issues that this has. I wouldn't recommend. So I think he doesn't want people to make a bad investment. He seems to care.
We're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going a step further. Like I've had that exact experience with my home inspector. And again, I'm not trying to like negatively paint with a broad brush for home inspectors, like just so any home inspectors are listening or people listening, like home inspectors are not evil. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. I'm just saying if they inspect and find something and then you buy it, they have no more, like they're not liable. They're not, they don't have to even recommend repairs. Pretty much the reports just say, I recommend calling a licensed professional because that's all they're allowed to say basically.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to say that like they are hired to do a specific job and like beyond that scope of that job, you can't rely on them. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair.
That's all I'm saying. Again, there's no negative connotation to home inspectors. We get home inspections. I'm not, yeah. Like, so just to clear that up, like it's just, I don't know. I guess the way I would phrase it is buying a home. It's a lot of like, it's a lot to just rely on a home inspection.
For sure.
I guess that's what I'm doing.
But if you know nothing about construction or anything, that's the only person you have to rely on.
That's true.
So I think that finding an inspector who you trust and you like is very important. Like that's like my most important advice to first-time home buyers is you don't have to hire the first inspector you come across. You don't have to hire the one that I tell you to. Although most people do.
That's a good thing.
Make a recommendation
that's a good thing to say
do,
though, because a lot of home buyers don't know that. They're like, "Oh, my realtor has an inspector, and I didn't really like him." Well, hire who you want.
Right.
It's your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Realtors work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like 100%.
Yeah.
And it's great that you have a home inspector that you know is reliable and can probably fudge their schedule in your favor a little bit when things get tight. You're like, oh, I really need one in 2 weeks. Oh, I'm 5 weeks out. Let me see if I can squeeze it in.
Yeah, my inspector is pretty much, he is very good at that.
And that relationship is clutch.
Right. And I hired him to inspect my personal home. He's somebody who I really trust. Judson Root with Garnet and Gray Inspections. Just a little shout out for him.
Positive shout outs on this podcast. Shout it out again. Who was
Judson Root. He's with Garnet and Gray Inspections. He also was a former contractor, so he really knows what to look for.
That's a good move.
And he's a good
to go
guy.
from contractor to inspector for sure. Yeah,
he's a great guy.
Right. But okay. So circling back to home advice advice we would give to first time home buyers. So, trusting your inspector or knowing that you can hire your own inspector. Yeah. Knowing that you can do everything yourself.
Yes.
You don't have to just tell your realtor.
You don't have to pick the lender that I tell you that I like. You don't have to pick anybody that I tell you anything about.
Yeah.
I try to cultivate the relationships with those people. So I have a guy for this. I have a guy who does fences. I have a lender who I trust, but not all of those people are perfect for everyone. They work for me. Yeah. I like the way that I can talk to them. They're very available. For me, that works great. But not everybody works for everybody.
Oh, totally.
And so I think that not a lot of realtors will tell their clients, like, you can pick whoever you want. Because, some people have a kind of a sweetheart deal. They get discounts or, not kickbacks because that's illegal. But, some of my people will give my client.
Kickbacks are illegal in real estate?
We're not allowed to take any sort of kickbacks.
That's like how general contracting works.
Yeah, no, we're not allowed to accept any sort of kickbacks like that.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure people do. And like, if you want to take me to dinner because you thought I was such a great realtor, that meal is not necessarily what you're going to.
Okay. So, okay, cool.
It's not like that. But like if somebody, wants to give me a couple $1,000 extra off book, so I'm not taxed on it, it's not part of my commission, that's a no.
Oh, okay. we don't do kickbacks like that.
Yeah.
Everything's still on the books, but
Right.
like,
Or like
it's pretty
if
common.
I tell a client to use an inspector and then that inspector paid me cash, I can't take that.
Okay, so it's
'Cause,
pretty it's pretty common, and
Because then
like,
that would convince me to start pushing people to use him because I get paid.
yeah,
He gives my clients a discount, which is good for them because they're my clients and I referred them, so they get a discount. But it doesn't give me money in my pocket for sending people to certain.
I gotcha. Okay, yeah. So there are occasions. It's still run through like the legit company and it's taxed and all that jazz. But there are occasions like, let's give 2 examples, right? Let's say you hire me and you need a bunch of stuff done, right? And I got to bring in all my subs and, electrician does that, whatever. They're going to pre-price, right? They're going to give me a number. I'm going to add, the 20% on top of it because I have to eat.
Sure.
And I'm going to work for it and organize and whatever. Okay. So then everything's clear, right? But let's just say you only need a roof.
Yeah.
So I just have to get my boy Felix, shout out Felix, to go do a roof for you. And he's like, that roof's $7,000. I'm going to tell you it's $7,500.
Right.
And that's just like, and I might even tell you, you can just write Felix a check.
Right.
And then I'm just going to text Felix, like, you're going to get a check for $500 more. Tomorrow, bring me $500 in cash.
Yeah.
And like, you still got that roof cheaper than the competitor,
Sure.
but that's sometimes how that works.
Right. I mean, that's you getting paid to do your job.
Yeah, but it's different. Like, it's sometimes, like I just explained those 2 very different situations.
Right.
And like the roof one, somebody might be upset. Like, why didn't I just get it for $7,000? And it's like, well, I've cultivated a relationship with my roofer and you called me, not him. And I'm going to make sure it's done correct. Like I earned that, through a whole career. Like, it's like when somebody hires a handyman or whatever and they do a job in 5 minutes.
Right.
And they're like, here's a $300 bill. And they're like, $300? You're here for 5 minutes. Like, yeah, I spent 27 years figuring out how to do that in 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Like, you're paying for all of this.
Right.
So that's a perspective that a lot of people don't understand, but it is still completely legitimate.
Right.
And in fact, how it should be. If you called me every time for something and I just sent my sub and you paid him directly and I made no money,
right,
I would wither and die without eating.
Right.
And then you wouldn't have anyone to call. So
Exactly.
it's like, you gotta, chicken or the egg type of situation. Though I truly believe it was definitely an egg.
I mean, it had to be, but who laid that egg?
Whatever was genetically before the chicken that we don't call a chicken that then morphed into the chicken, because I believe in evolution.
Sure. Same. I guess that's technically
So to
true.
me, like,
but like the first bird.
the first bird probably wasn't a bird. It
Yeah,
was
I guess
probably
it was
something
like
that
an
walked out of
alligator
the
or
ocean.
something. Yeah,
that's I believe truly in evolution that like
But
some
alligators
single
also lay eggs, don't they?
a lot of things lay eggs. Alligators lay eggs? Yeah, they do lay
They
eggs.
do,
Yeah.
Reptiles, all are eggs.
Right. Though to me, that's not a reptile. That's a freaking dinosaur. Like alligators.
I'm from Florida.
Are,
We're gators everywhere. They don't faze me anymore.
How do they not phase you? You
I
own
mean,
a
I don't
dog.
want to
Like how
standoff
did
with
it?
one. But like people,
You walk around with one of those like single shotgun shell
Right.
pistols for an alligator.
I know. I was just in Costa Rica and we were at this resort and they had a whole animal sanctuary and they were like, all right, the first one we got, it's it's these gators. And I was like, yeah, show me the sloth. I was like,
Right.
I'm not here for alligator time. I've seen gators my whole life.
Yep.
Just like in the pond behind my grandma's house. Don't care about the gator.
I mean, same here,
I was like,
honestly.
get me to the sloth, man.
Yeah, I would go visit my grandparents in Florida probably at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, and they lived on a golf course that obviously had a bunch of water. And you'd literally see a golfer because you could from their window you'd like see a golfer on the 16th hole, and I mean not close, but 50 yards away in the water. It's like that's a 7 foot, that's a 4 foot gator, that's a 6 foot. Like they're like no big deal.
They like teach us as children how to run away from an alligator and how to shuffle and not get stung by a stingray.
Oh,
Florida's
how do you run away from an alligator? Just sit there and pray.
Zigzag. You zigzag. They don't zig very well. So if you zigzag, they get confused and they can't.
I still think I'm too slow.
Because their eyes are.
I still think I'm too slow. I think that thing would have me in
100%,
a minute.
100%. I
You
can
see them
zigzag
like
all I want.
you
but-
see them like jump out of the water and take dogs and shit.
Yeah, and then
it's
they do
like,
that roll thing where they like drown you while they're spinning. It's wild.
I'm good on that. Yeah. And some people are like, I want to move to Florida because that's where the alligators are. I'm like, dude, why are you moving to the swamp where the dinosaurs are?
Right.
We evolved past this.
There are probably some reasons to move to Florida, although as a person who left Florida, I don't necessarily see them. But I wouldn't say that alligators is a motivator.
My tattoo artist, her and her husband came over for a Super Bowl party, and she was like, yeah, we went to Florida like 2 months ago. And I was like, oh, how was it? She was like, honestly, I looked at Ray day 2, and I was like, should we just move here and become Florida trash? And she said that, quote unquote. And I was like, it would be easy. You'd have fun. She's like, I know. It'd be so. I was like, you just open a tattoo shop down there. Like, no big deal. I'm sure you'd do fine. And she was like, we really thought about it.
Yeah.
They were in like Tampa. You know, I was like, that's not even like a great part of Florida.
Yeah.
Like,
I grew up about an hour and a half south of Tampa. And I will say, I go home 3 or 4 times a year. And my whole family and all my friends are still down there. And every time I'm down there at about the 4-day mark, I'm like, you know what? I'm coming back. Yeah. I love it here. These friends I've had.
Oh, you're moving back. You mean you're moving back to Florida?
Like I'm like ready to stay forever.
And then
I like
8
start
days
looking
later.
at real estate. I'm just like, oh, I could probably buy something down here. And I was like, oh, I love seeing my parents. And then all my friends from like elementary school are living down there, and they've got all their kids and their families. And I'm like, oh, I love being like the fun.
No one moved away. You're the only one.
A few people have moved away, but like a lot of my like people I've literally were in the same preschool class with still lived, and I'm still very close friends with them. They live down there. They've got their families. I'm like, I love being like the fun aunt that like flips in and out of their lives, whatever. And then I'm like, yeah, around day 8, I'm like, I got to get back to Raleigh. Like I have to get back to my real life.
I know one person who still lives in the area I grew up in, and unfortunately it's because he has to. He can't afford, or he doesn't think he can do life changes and stuff. And he's like he was and still is one of my best friends. And I'm just like, man, if I could just like pluck him like a leopard grabs their kid by the back of the neck, you know, and just be like, you live in Durham now, and there's the barber school, and there's 75 restaurants, and sleep in my guest room and figure it out, and 2 months later we'll get you a place. Like, I just know the kid's life would be better. You know, he's stuck in like very small podunk upstate New York town. He's like single and lonely. And I'm like, there's no people there. You're not going to meet. They're taken. Anyone good is taken because they're lonely too.
Yeah, they started dating someone that they hated in high school, but somehow
and they trained them. Yeah, they figured they trained each other and they're making it work. Or they hate each other, but they're together. But like, I'm like, it's probably not going to happen. And like, why, especially he lives less than 90 miles from New York City. Like, why would anybody? They're there. Yeah. Especially people our age. Yeah. So, circling back to first-time home buyers, beyond the advice of just knowing that you don't have to. I know this is like counterintuitive because you should listen to your realtor because you should trust your realtor. Absolutely. And that's probably a good piece of advice too.
And I also tell people, like, if you don't feel that for me, you can. I'm not going to force someone to use me as their realtor. Even friends of mine, if someone else is, sometimes friends especially feel uncomfortable. They have to share kind of their entire financial situation.
Oh, my brother won't hire
with
me
someone.
As a
so like I've had friends who I was like, especially in the beginning, I was like really bummed that they didn't choose me. And I'm like, it can change your relationship with your friends. I've been fortunate that a lot of my friends have used me as their realtor and it's been great, but not everything always goes great. Yeah.
Like I can handle clients, no problem.
Right.
But there's something about my brother where it's like, I admit it's me. Like I'll get unnecessarily upset at something because he's my brother first and not a client.
Right.
So like he's going to build a guest house, pool house, whatever, probably in the 5-year mark. And like respectfully, he will not hire me. Right. And respectfully, I won't want him to hire me because it's like we have a great relationship and it's like that small amount of money is not worth. I'm having a similar conversation with my parents who are about to start working on a home for themselves in the Durham area. And they're like, well, we need you to do it. And I'm like, you by your own admission said you want to nitpick and micromanage. And I'm the only person in the world who can't handle being nitpicked and micromanaged.
By you.
This is a bad idea, Mom. Yeah. Like we had a bad relationship 10 years ago. We fixed it. We don't want to break it again.
We don't
like
need
this
to mess with what's working.
Not a good move. And she's like, no, it'll be fine. And she's like, trying to convince me, and I'm like, this is just not a good. Hire Jim. Jim's great. We use the same subs. Yeah. it's like he'll get it done. He works on job. He can handle it. Exactly. Yeah. So trusting your realtor, knowing your realtor, knowing that they work for you in every sense of the word. And if you're not 100%, if you don't feel it 100%, there's another realtor. Get another realtor.
Right.
And then even when you are in there and trust your realtor, know that you can still use your own people. If you grew up in construction industry and you have an inspector and you want to use him, call your guy. I mean, there's no like, and then, okay, so beyond that, what advice would you give for a first-time home buyer?
I would say it depends on what's most important to you. So I try to make sure I talk to my clients. I find out what are their top 5. Is location more important than square footage?
Is there any secret to figuring that out other than just talking about it?
When I take clients on showings, I really try to listen to what they're saying, not even just to me, but like amongst themselves. Like I had a client recently, I actually worked all the way down in Pinehurst. I'll go there too. I had a client down in Pinehurst.
We go everywhere.
Right? Everywhere. I had a client down in Pinehurst, and on the first showing, I remember him saying to his wife, "Oh, it's so great. I love when the master bathroom has like a separate toilet closet. Close the door.
Yeah.
He's like, I love that.
That's a very Southern thing.
Right. And I had never really dealt with that where I'm from. But anyways, so just listening, even little details like that. So then we go to another house and I'm like, oh my God, it's got a toilet closet. And he's like, I can't believe you remember that I like that. I'm like, I just, I try to pay attention to even the things that they wouldn't put on their list, but like little things that kind of like, I can tell it like lights you up. Like it's something that you're looking for. Or if, if I know they have dogs, I look at what's the flooring made of or what the yard situation is, what the neighborhood walkability situation is. So I think there are a lot of things that I try to pay attention to that people might not even realize that they would be looking for. Mm-hmm. And so, I try to bring things like that up, but I'm also not trying to sway your decision.
And this simply comes from just trial and error of experience.
And just, I think a lot of it is also having worked in the service industry, like heard people talk about different, even not realtor related, but if they're complaining about the way that they were taken care of in a different situation, I've heard every story in the book.
Right, because as a bartender, you are a therapist, basically, if we're being honest. That's what I feel like bartenders and tattoo artists are therapists.
Yeah,
really.
You know how many times I've sat like staring blankly, just being like, that's crazy.
Like, are you telling me? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah. Or they just like, they're telling you a story and you're just like, yeah, man, that's wild. And then they just keep.
All right, don't give me names, but give me the craziest bartenders. Not craziest bartender story, but craziest like story you've heard from a patron.
There was a customer we had at an unnamed bar who...
Yeah, no names.
Sure. She was in there all the time, and she was essentially homeless, but not like to be pitied. Like she would just find a guy to take home and stay at his house for as many days, but she literally didn't live anywhere. She would just live at whoever she was hooking up with.
Hooking up for dorm, hooking up for rooming, or sleeping for board.
Yeah, basically.
Got that from How I Met Your Mother.
We all like, we all saw it. The guys didn't necessarily know, but there's like a weird line of like, who do you rat her out? Do you not? I mean, there was just,
you don't.
10
it's
years.
Not your business.
Right. And we never
that's
did.
my opinion. Yeah.
No, but 10 years in the industry, I saw some wild things. People have tried to physically fight me. I'm not a person who has ever punched anyone ever.
You don't look like a bartender I'd fight, though.
But people,
you're not short at all.
People get specifically angry and try to come behind the right. And well, that's the thing. People get the most mad when you try to cut them off.
Oh my God, yes, I have witnessed that as just a patron. I've never been a bartender. My only service industry soiree or whatever was a full summer between junior and senior year of college. I was a busboy at like a huge restaurant in Poughkeepsie, New York. It was like Shadows on the Hudson on the water, and massive. Like they had a whole event space attached and a massive bakery kitchen in between and two separate kitchen, like massive. And busboy at that was no joke, and got tipped out by the waiters even, and it was like a huge production. But until that moment, I was like, I want to open a restaurant. And it took like 3 days as a busboy where I was like, never again will I even consider. Yeah. Like the closest I've ever come since then was being an investor in a food truck. Right. And that was, I'll invest and help with the menu.
Right. But owning a restaurant is very different than managing or working in a restaurant.
No, I wanted to own a restaurant and be like owner, head chef of a small, and then I was like, this is just not.
Yeah, if I were to own a restaurant, I'd be a real hands-off owner. You guys
100%.
deal with like the day-to-day bullshit.
Yeah.
I'll come in and just, make the money.
That's kind of what I want to do as a
notch.
food truck is I just want to I want to, in a dream world, I want to pull a chef who has dreams and inspirations, but is just like a line cook somewhere and be like, yo,
I'm gonna give you your
will
chance.
hand you a truck and we'll design a menu and this will just be like your thing and I get X% and
Sure.
hopefully you're on the Food Network and starting your own restaurant in 20 years
Right.
and we throw this truck away. Because I could make some hands-off money and grow somebody's dream.
For sure.
And just I've had that. I even have a menu in an Evernote. I've named them all after, I've named all the sandwiches on the food truck after my family members. Yeah.
I like that.
And their favorite things. Yeah. So I'm chuckling just thinking about them. The joke on the menu, because my sister Alyssa, I love you Alyssa, but you're not the best cook in the family. The Alyssa is on the menu, it's every sandwich is a name. So it's the pop is my dad, the mom is my mom, whatever.
Sure.
And then the Alyssa is go to another truck because she just goes out to eat a lot. So it's just my stupid brother sister humor. Alyssa, I love you. Just so we're clear. She went to Mexico City with me. Okay, so let's switch over to the B side of our conversation, which was actually why I reached out, because I think I hit the congratulations first, and then I was like, snap, I got to have you on.
Yeah, I think it was a rapid fire.
Yeah.
Congrats on the house. Want to be on my podcast?
Literally, I was like, you might be the first person to be on here to talk about their new construction home.
Okay.
So obviously we can, for listeners, just quickly say new construction, old construction is pretty obvious. New construction was built for you.
Right.
No previous owner. Did you it was built and you bought it, or you kind of
No.
working with the builders?
When I signed the contract, it was a dirt pit.
Okay.
I signed the contract back in May of 2022, and there was no concrete. The whole development that I live in was just a giant.
But it
red
was
clay.
under development.
Yes.
The plans were done.
There were renderings.
And whether you bought it or I bought it, that house was going to get built the same?
Yes.
Okay, so
as far as the exterior, I did a lot of customization to the interior.
And those were just you talked to the builder and you were like, you haven't done it yet, so I'd like this cabinet here, or I'd like this kitchen this way.
When I first signed the contract, they set me up for a design meeting with their design center. And I went to the first meeting of that. They just kind of showed me what they have, and I didn't pick anything yet. There was just kind of here's what we got. Take your time, think about it. And the second meeting where I actually chose everything, I brought my friend Kim, who's an interior designer. I was like, Kim, I think I know what I'm doing.
Kim Hopkins?
No, Kim Coombs.
I was going to say, if it's Kim Hopkins, the world is very small.
No, Kim Coombs. She's incredible also. So I brought her with me, and I said, I think I know what I want. I think I know what I'm doing, but I don't have the visualization to see it all together. I was like, I can see, I like these cabinets. I like this countertop. But if they don't have a model of them sitting together, I don't know if I'm picking the right stuff.
That visualization thing that you mentioned is massive, because that is literally left brain and right brain.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with either side. It's just different people.
I can do it better for other people.
Oh, yeah.
So if when one of my best friends, I was his realtor. We bought a condo. I could see his place, and I knew exactly how it was going to be. I helped him pick all his furniture, helped him design everything. But when it's for me, I get so stressed out because there's so many options.
That's
I'm
so
like, what if I
interesting.
pick the wrong one and then I'm stuck with it? If they're stuck with it, they paid for it. It's fine. But if I'm stuck with it and it's my money, I just spent my life savings on this house, and I pick these white countertops and they look, super trendy or silly or something, then I'm stuck with it forever. And I know that it was my choice, the mistake that I made, and I have to sit in that. So I didn't want to do that. So I brought Kim with me, and she did. I will say that most of the stuff that I had chosen, she agreed with. She did change my mind on a couple things, which I'm super grateful now that I'm in the house and it's all in there and together. So they set you up. There are, with my particular builder, which was Meritage Homes, they have some packages. They're base price they cost no extra, but you can choose between these three. And then of course, the ones that I actually really liked were the ones that cost extra.
Right.
So then those at this particular builder were all packages as well. So it was you get this package A has this color flooring, this color countertops, and you can choose the cabinet color and the handles and stuff. So It's not completely customizable. I have worked with custom home builders with other clients where you can literally pick every single thing, which in some cases can be a little more complicated because you really have to have the vision. If you're picking every single color of every single thing in your home, you really have to know what it's going to look like altogether. Whereas in my case, it was kind of a package. So they had, like a showcase thing of this package. So I could see what the carpet that's going to be upstairs would look like with the wood that's going to be downstairs. And so I did pick those things. And then, man, I was really swayed by the upgrades. I ended up upgrading a lot.
It's so fascinating what you mentioned about how you can visualize for someone else and not for yourself. My mother is a professional interior designer. And for anybody who listens to the podcast, WSDG stands for Walter Storick Design Group, and Beth Walters and John Storick, my parents, started this thing. And it's amazing. And, she has no problem picking colors, floors, whatever, for multi-million-dollar recording studios, kitchens, houses, whatever. But when it came to our redoing our kitchen in our home in New York, she sent her assistant to Home Depot, and the assistant came back with one knob of every knob.
Yeah.
Literally 5 giant plastic Home Depot bags with every individual pull in the cabinet section, and she didn't use any of them. She ended up picking something different, and it was just so impossible for her because it was for her.
Well, I call it, I don't think I came up with this term, but I call it analysis paralysis. And I found this especially with buying the furniture for my home. There are too many options. I equate it to eating at a Cheesecake Factory or a niche downtown restaurant. I don't want 1,000 choices that are done okay. Just give me 5 options that are good, and any of them would be good, and I'm much happier. I've been trying to buy a rug for a month for this house, and there are infinite numbers of rugs on the internet.
Oh my God,
I
so
can't
true.
choose
and
one.
every size.
Because I get to, there's 47 pages on one website, I get to page 15, and I'm exhausted I'm just oh my God, I'm just scrolling, and I'm not even seeing anything. I'm I like this one, fine. I'm but what if the one I like is on page 25? And it's going to be the perfect one, and I'm going to love it, and it's a better price. And so I feel I have to keep going. And then at page 26, I'm just bored.
Yeah. Or there was one on page 11, or was it page 9?
Right.
I
so
can't
then
remember.
I exit the site, and I don't buy anything.
And you start over.
And I start over another day. So, and that has been happening to me with every piece of furniture I've bought so far. And then eventually one day I'm you know what? This one's good. And I'm I don't think about it at all. And I'm hey, I just bought this thing.
Yeah.
My mom.
I mean, there's an entire industry that that's what they do. That's a person, she's not really a friend. She's now been downgraded to just a Facebook friend because our families have lost touch. But this woman, Ellie, I used to, she worked for her. She worked for her parents who were designers, and now she's so good she does it herself. She's in Austin, and you could hire her for pick the rug, or you could hire her I'm building a home, render and pick everything, and she'll do it. That's what and she's great.
Yeah. And
it's that's an entire industry, and I gotta say though, they still have to get to know you to figure it out.
100%.
It's not they, that's why when people ask me for my opinion, I'm you don't want my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm I'm a general contractor. I'm a big, tall dude who likes orange. You want me to design your kitchen? Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'll put in those cabinets flawlessly, but don't ask me what color they should be.
Yeah. That was a lesson I learned very early on in real estate is when you walk into a showing, you don't say anything about what you personally feel about the design of something.
No.
Because I had, one point, one of my first showings ever, we walked into a house and I was thinking to myself, oh my God, that backsplash is
the worst.
It's so ugly. And oh my God, they have the same backsplash as us. I love it. And I was good.
Yeah.
I'm so
That's
glad
a
you
sign.
love it.
Yeah.
You should buy it. But I was I'm so glad I didn't say anything because not everyone has the same taste.
Right.
And they don't have to. And no, you're not supposed to.
And they could have been swayed. They could have
Sure.
loved the house and been our realtor thinks that backsplash is hideous. Should we buy this one? And they're questioning everything they know because of a backsplash.
So I wait
for the
until
record
they
that
say
could be
something.
changed
Right.
for $300.
Right.
It's that's not a big deal.
But but people, they hear that, and maybe at the time they're thinking, oh, well, I like it. It doesn't matter if she doesn't like it. But it seeps in. You hear people saying stuff like that, and you're oh, man, is that ugly? And then you're oh, is the one that I've had in my house that I love for 10 years, is that ugly?
Yeah.
And then you're second-guessing yourself and, design your house however you want. So I had to
That's
learn
why I've
quickly
learned to
not to express my appearance about the aesthetics of a home until they start saying something. and I can either agree, and lean into what they're saying, or I just don't say anything if I disagree. So that was a huge lesson I learned early
I
on.
learned to stop asking, again, Stacy Sloan, only positive shout outs. I absolutely love you, and you're our realtor till you retire. But I don't ask her opinion on that kind of stuff.
Right.
Because I don't want her opinion.
Right.
And that's not an insult.
If it's like
her
layout,
style
right.
and my style you said it perfectly. They shouldn't be the same.
Right.
We're not robots.
Yeah.
Like what I like and you like should never be the same. And you're right. It does. I'm like less susceptible, but it still seeps in.
Absolutely.
It doesn't wake me up in a cold sweat, but the next day I'm frying something and I'm like, oh yeah. Oh shit, I burnt that burger because I was thinking Stacy was like telling me that, and that. And like in reality, that opinion shouldn't have even been factored.
Right. And on my end of it, it as a person who, if I think I said something that might seep into them, that does wake me up at night because I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
I'm like,
well,
oh
you
my
might
God.
have lost business because of that.
Well, not even about I'm just like, I hate that I did that to someone else because I hate when it happens to me. I'm like, man, did I, when we walked out on that back deck and I said, whatever, something about the landscaping or something about the yard. I'm like, man, I don't want that to be the thing that convinces them they don't want this home that they love.
Yeah.
Because people can back out for the smallest reasons.
Oh my God. Yes.
I mean, you're spending a ton of money, regardless of what house you're getting and who you are. It's a lot of money to anyone. To either a down payment or a cash buy.
It's arguably the most expensive.
It's a huge decision.
Thing you've ever bought.
To be trusted with that, to be like steering someone to do something like that, is huge. And so I don't ever want to think that someone's gonna change their mind because I didn't like the look of something.
Yeah.
I've tried really hard to keep my personal feelings in that nature. I mean, obviously, if I see something, that's a red flag.
Oh, of course.
Architecturally,
that's different.
I will say something.
Like, hey, there's a crack there. Foundation's broken. Like, that's different than I don't like the wall color. That's not your opinion. Shut up.
Right.
Yeah, basically, shut up.
Right.
I remember
if I hear them saying they don't like the wall color, I'll just,
chime
you
in.
can slap a coat of paint on there, no problem. I got a painter. If you want to use them,
it's literally what Stacy did with this house because the kitchen that's gray now used to be school bus yellow.
Right.
It was awful.
Well, and as a listing agent too, there is a fine line of telling people when their home is their taste and it's beautiful for them, but it might not be something that is going to attract other people.
Yeah, resale versus what you want is different.
To try to convince someone to paint their whole house when they picked all their colors and they loved it, you just kind of have to, it's a very delicate process to not offend them, but to say, neutral colors are, people can see themselves in the home more when it's not personalized to you. Mm-hmm. You don't want to offend, like, oh, your style is horrible. Yeah. You don't want to say that. So you're like, oh, taking down those intense curtains that you have in the living room, those are beautiful. And I'm sure that you chose them and everything. But someone else might not be able to see themselves in this home, and seeing themselves in this home is how you sell the house.
Yeah, like
somebody walking
staging.
the door and being able to see themselves in a home is like the biggest reason they buy it.
Yeah. No, staging is 100% real. And I was able to see through that yellow wall. And Stacy, the sweetest person ever, when I finally moved in, she gave me a welcome to your first house card with a $50 Amazon gift card that said, go buy some paint. Yeah. And I was like, you're the best. Yeah. And I went and bought some great paint and painted that wall in an hour. But it's the opinions of it is a delicate thing, and people sometimes don't realize when they improve their home, they're hurting their resale.
Right.
Like, I redid my master bathroom because that might be a bad example because it was like a shitty tub and now it's a gorgeous tile walk-in shower. So it probably did help the resale.
Sure.
But at the same time, there are things in there that are for Corbett, not for anyone else.
Right.
Like that niche is at Corbett height. The shower head is at Corbett height.
Right.
And I'm 6'5", everybody. So guess what? If you're 5'0", you're going to have a tough time with that. You're going to need the S lowering hook thing, whatever. Right. Stuff like that. And but then there are things where I was like, this is for resale. Like when I fenced in the yard, Absolutely. I have a dog, but that was for resale.
Same.
When I built
fencing in my yard too.
When I built, I'll show you after the podcast, but when I built the pallet wall in my bedroom, I knew from day one, this isn't resale. Right. This is for Corbett.
Right. And I live here, so I want it to be
This might hurt. Someone might walk in and go, we have to rip that down immediately. And my realtor will be intelligent enough to go, it's thrown on with finish nails and no glue. You rip that thing off, $100 of drywall, paint, you're done. And I'll make sure they know that if I ever sell this house.
Right.
But I was like, I'm going to be here for enough time
that
I want to do that.
Right. You don't have to make every decision for resale.
No. But
And
some you do.
Yeah, but some things
Yeah.
you definitely.
Some
you
it
know,
should
you have
be
to
in the
think
back
about
of your
it.
brain,
Right.
though.
Unless you know for a fact you're going to live there till you die and you're going to give it to your kids.
Exactly. Then
do
who
whatever
cares?
you want.
Like my parents in New York. When
Right.
they do stuff, they're like, we give 2 Fs. This is our house. We're
Yeah.
giving it to y'all, and you deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's a great mindset. Build the deck a weird shape.
Yeah.
Put the railing. Make it weird.
do you,
paint
man.
it blue. I don't care. Like, have fun. Yeah.
Yeah, live in the house you want to be
Yeah.
in.
So the new construction home,
Yeah.
there are a lot of people shitting on new construction these days.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, I want a solid 1880s house or
Right.
a 500-year-old farmhouse or whatever. So when you walk in it, does it shake and bounce?
No, I mean, I feel like it's pretty sturdy. I have never lived in a 2-story house. I grew up in ranches.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, there are some creaks that or like when the washing machine's going upstairs, I can hear it downstairs. I think that's pretty normal.
That's just no insulation. In
There
the
are definitely
interior
pros.
walls,
There
yeah.
are pros and cons to both, to
For sure.
pre-existing and new construction,
Oh, yeah.
for sure. For me, my parents' house was beautiful. They still live in it. They lived in it forever. I lived in, kind of dingy homes in college. College house is fine.
Yeah.
Then I moved here and I lived in what my parents describe as a hovel. It was terrible. It was a terrible house that I can't believe is still standing. Every time I drive by it a lot. It was on Glenwood Avenue.
Is that the one I went to?
Yes.
Oh my God.
It was
Like 6 years ago?
Bad house. Yeah.
It was not great.
It was not great.
Yeah.
But I lived walking distance to my job and it was only $750 a month. Downtown Raleigh.
No, your location was phenomenal.
Prime
and I
location.
remember, I think I
and I could
drove
walk to
by
all the
it.
bars I wanted to go to, so I never had to drive anywhere.
I think I drove by it like not believing I was there because it was
Mhm.
literally on like a 4-lane highway.
Yeah.
It was on Glenwood, like you said. Yeah.
By the time I moved out from that house, I had mice. A squirrel gave birth underneath my bathtub.
Oh, little mama.
There
No,
was
just kidding.
something flying around in the walls, and there was a raccoon in the ceiling. Not to mention the fact that I did at some point have someone, it wasn't an inspector, but somebody came out to repair something in the crawl space, and they said that there was no subfloor under the tub.
Wait, you bought this house?
No.
Oh.
Somebody was coming out to fix something, and I let them into the crawl space.
okay,
Like my
okay.
landlord sent somebody to fix something. And he said that there was no subfloor under the tub. It was just the fiberglass tub, and if I fell through it, it was an 8-foot drop into the ground. And then he said that multiple support beams were cut in half and then propped up with cinder blocks. I literally can't believe that house is still standing.
Sounds like every home I read.
I moved out because the ceiling collapsed on me while I was sitting in the house. Not the roof, but the ceiling caved in just like while I was sitting there one day. And I was like, you know what? I lived here for 5 years.
Yeah.
I got the good deal. I paid the $750. I was 22 to 27, 28 years old. So it was like the prime time to be living right next to all the bars.
No, that's a sign. When
walking
the
to drink
ceiling
and
collapses,
walking to work.
that's a good move.
But I was like, yeah, I think it's time. So then I moved into another house, which was more structurally sound, but still not great. Very inexpensive. So when I was looking to buy this house, which by the way, I only really started looking because my landlord at my old place told me that they were selling it. So the day he called and told me they were selling it, I went into panic mode because it was so cheap. Even my neighbors' houses were almost twice the price, the exact same house. My landlord was just cool. I paid not a lot of money, and I could afford it. So I went into full-blown panic mode. I was like, what am I going to do? I need somewhere to live. Of course, at this point, the house still hasn't sold. It's been over a year since I got that phone call. But the point is, I panicked, and I started looking, and I was like, well, because I'm a realtor, I can look and find myself a place. So I also, that afternoon, had a call with a new client who had what he called no budget. He wanted to spend any amount of money to buy or build this incredible custom home. And I had a Zoom meeting with him literally minutes after I got the call that my house was being sold. And in the moment, I thought they were selling it like in the next couple months. So I was panicked. I had this phone call and I was like, it didn't go great, the call with the potential client. And I told him, I was like, listen, I just got a phone call that, I might have to move. My house is being sold. I have no options. I just want to let you know, like, that's why I've been a little shaky and like not on great standing for this conversation. Like, can we redo this? And he was kind enough. I was able to talk to him again. We still haven't bought anything, but still, we're still in contact. So
if he wants to buy my house for like $2 million, I don't want to sell it, but I will.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear.
Yeah, I think
He has
that
no
maybe,
budget.
no budget doesn't mean to buy a house for way more than it's worth. I think he wants
Are
to
you
buy like
sure?
a $2 million house for $2 million. Anyways, so,
I could stage it.
so that afternoon after I got off that call with him, I started looking at places. I went and saw a couple. I was like, I'm single and I live by myself. So for someone to be my sounding board is my parents. I call my mom. She's retired. probably 10 times a day. So I call my mom. I'm like FaceTiming her, looking at all these houses. I think I like them. And then I see this new construction listing for this potential home. And I'm like, okay, well, is it going to be done before I have to move out of this house if it's being sold? So I kind of go back and forth about it. The woman I talked to at the sales agent for Meritage, she was great. She was really supportive. She said, we haven't sold a lot in this community yet. There's this lot that it's my favorite lot in the whole community. Before you even agree to come see it, I'm just going to put your name on it so no one else can have it. If you decide you want it, you've already got it kind of held for you for a certain amount of time.
Okay.
And I was like, that's cool. Thank you. She's like, well, we love working with realtors because you don't have to hold your hand through the whole project.
Right.
I was my own realtor, which was dope. I got paid to be my own realtor, to buy my own house.
You saved 3%. Yeah.
For sure. So my parents happened to be coming in town a couple days later, maybe. They came to Raleigh to visit. And so we went and saw the lot, and it was beautiful. She was right. It backs up to the woods. It has a big side yard. It's got more privacy than almost any other home in the development. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of talking to my parents. We went and looked at a couple other showings that I just kind of set up for myself. And I just was like, you know what? I want something brand new. I've lived in these houses that have had these structural issues, these other leaks, problems for so long. I was like, I just want something that I know is new, that isn't compromised structurally yet. So
North Carolina clay. There's no such thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just decided to go for it. We put the deposit down, and then the waiting, this 8 months of waiting. And my old house was about 1.5 miles from the place I just bought.
So you were there all the time.
Oh, I was there every day. I was just popping by. I knew the guys doing the construction. I was like, hey guys, you're doing such a great job. Keep up the good work. I was like, I want you to like me so you do a really good job building my house. I was there all the time. The pictures that I posted were the progress pictures.
Then you drive away and they're like, pull the nails out of the rafters. Pull them all out.
Right? She's annoying. Let's
tear
this thing
Put glue
down.
that only lasts 8 months.
But yeah, so I was there all the time. I was definitely worried that it wasn't going to be completed by the time at that point I had given my notice to my landlord, even though the house is still on the market technically commercially. They're trying to sell it. He owns 2 homes next to each other. He's trying to sell them. It's a package deal to be commercially developed, which is why it hasn't sold. It takes longer. Commercial stuff takes way longer. Hell yeah. So my panic in the beginning of I'm not going to have anywhere to live. I'm going to have to move my stuff into storage, stay with a friend, move again, blah, blah, blah. Didn't happen. And my landlord was actually super cool at the end because we were supposed to close the end of December and it ended up getting pushed to the end of January. And my landlord let me just pay for an extra month without any sort of penalties, which was dope. I don't remember where I was going with that.
We're just kind of generally talking about the new construction.
Right. So yeah,
home.
I wanted something new, and I wanted to be able to choose everything. I'm not super. I can do some projects. I do some DIY stuff, but I was like, I'm not gonna switch out my countertops.
Right.
I'm not gonna change the cabinets. I've seen people who paint their cabinets, doesn't go well.
Never.
So I was like,
well, that's not true, but you
can have them painted and they're great. To do it yourself is really, really difficult.
It's a lot of work. It's so much more.
I was
like,
I don't want to buy. Right. I was like, I don't want to buy something that's going to be this huge project for me. I want to buy something that I can move into and then start cultivating things that I love to go there. I didn't want to decorate it all the first day.
Right.
There's still a lot to be done. I've been slowly buying things, which was advice from a lot of my friends.
It's harder than you think to be like, I'm buying a whole house of everything. Yeah. It's way easier to be like, all right, when I need the chair, let's go chair shopping.
But having 7 months of knowing I was building to be shopping.
Right. It's hard to not.
It was hard not to.
Because where do you put it?
Right.
You can't buy the couch.
I can't buy anything. But because I can't buy anything, that gives me more time to keep shopping for it, which is what started my analysis paralysis. I would see every option that there was. And for a while, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy everything from West Elm. I like the style of West Elm. It's decent quality. It's expensive, but I've made a budget. I'm going to buy these things.
Right.
And then at this point, I bought nothing from West Elm. I ended up buying none of the things I originally wanted. I found cheaper things. I found restored stuff on Facebook Marketplace, which is great because my budget. I still have a lot of extra space in my budget. Yeah. But originally, that was like, this is how I'm going to combat the fact that there's everything everywhere. I'm just going to buy everything from one store where there's 7 beds to choose from. I'm going to just pick one of the ones from the store that I like. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a great plan. And I had everything picked. And then I found a dresser on Facebook. And I was like, oh, this one's nice. But now this doesn't go with the bed that I wanted. So now I got to start the search all over again. And at this point, I've mostly bought things. Everything's been on a whim. I have not thought about it too much. Because if I think about it too much, I'll change my mind.
I've got to just pause you right there for a second. And we're back. Look at that. The editing is amazing. I'm so good at my podcast.
Magic.
It's magic. Yeah. So you were talking about your new construction before I interrupted you, and you were talking about how like hard it is to cultivate stuff all at once, and you were like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of get stuff as I need it now that I'm in there, but also the like 7 or even 8 months of like, I know I have a home, and I need to put stuff in it. Because you were living the crappy rental college lifestyle, you didn't want to bring any of that crap.
I had 900 square feet in my last place.
Yeah.
My house now is 2,300 square feet.
Yeah.
I just need to furnish a lot more space.
Yeah.
And I also don't want furniture that I found on the side of the road anymore. I want nice things in my nice house. So yeah, the cultivation of stuff, I've been going slow. I haven't been buying anything that I don't need yet. Like I have a guest room that has nothing in it at the moment. I will eventually get a bed and stuff for that guest room.
Build a home gym. Way cooler.
Well, I'm going to put the gym in my office, actually. I have an office and a gym, and then I have my basement that I'm planning on renting out. I have a full basement with like a living space, a bedroom, and a bathroom, and a separate entrance. Cool. So I think I'm going to rent it to travel nurses is currently my plan. I've got a buddy who's a travel nurse coordinator, and he said if I put in a little kitchenette, which is like a pretty simple project because the wall that I want to put it on is directly below my existing kitchen. Shouldn't be that hard to put.
I know a guy.
Yeah, put a little kitchenette down there.
You probably know a few guys for that.
But so yeah, if I just put in like a sink, a mini fridge, couple burners, and a microwave, I can rent that out for like $1,200 a month. Because I'm right behind Wake Med.
It's
nice. Super close to the hospital. It'd be great for travel nurses. They're 3 months at a time, and I don't have to have someone in there year round. Yeah. And they also like probably aren't going to be causing any ruckus or any problems. You know, travel nurses, they're in for 3 months, they're out. They're probably not having ragers.
That's true, yeah. And
they're pretty clean.
Ideally, you'd like a night nurse. So
They
they're
work
gone
nights,
at night, and then they sleep all day.
Right.
You never even really,
Right. So, yeah, I think that's my plan. I was planning on Airbnb-ing it before I saw the space. But the idea of having to, like, clean up between 2 or 3 night stays as opposed to 3 months. Yeah. Get it cleaned every 3 months. They do their own laundry while they're there. You know, they take care of the space, and then there's, like, a deadbolt up to the house, so they're not coming in. So I think that really brings, although if I don't put in the kitchenette, Airbnb is more doable. You can sell an Airbnb for 3 nights with no kitchen.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But for someone for 3 months, you have to allow them some space to cook.
Yeah, absolutely. But you honestly, for the cost of a kitchenette, you probably get a more expensive Airbnb, and it's not a lot of. It's like we're talking, 1 2-burner electric top, 2 cabinets. You probably don't even need a sink because you have a bathroom. I mean, even a little sink.
I don't really want people putting food stuff in a bathroom sink.
Fair enough. Yeah. I was thinking more wash your hands. But yes, food stuff down there. Yeah, but I'm saying like that is very
there's
small.
a thing at Home Depot that I've seen it's got a mini fridge and a sink and 2 burners. And I could just go to like the Habitat store, get a couple pieces of cabinets with throw some toppers on there, and that's it.
You need just to hook
and
it
just
up.
Need the plumbing and the electricity. So, I'm not currently in a rush to do that. Sure. I want to live in my home by myself for a while that I bought. Also, I just want to make it very clear. My parents helped me buy this house. I did not buy it all by myself. My parents really helped me. We split it 50-50. I don't want to feel like I'm hiding that. You know, like I want people to know that it's not easy to buy a house, and I got help, and I'm very fortunate that I was able to get that help from my family. I don't take that for granted.
If I didn't inherit what I inherited from my grandfather, there's no way I have a down payment. Like, let's be very
the down payment
clear.
Money, was from my great aunt when she passed away. Yeah. She didn't have any children. She left her house to my sister and I, and we sold the house, and that half the money is my sister paid off her med school debts. I used it to put the down payment on this house.
You know, I had 2 guests yesterday, and they're a little older than us. They have 10-year-old kids, that kind of age. And they are, one works for the other, but they're mortgage experts. And they were talking about how for most people, like obviously there's like very, very wealthy families that are into whatever they're into, the Henry Fords of the world, whatever. But for most people, hopefully the people listening to this and the people you deal with and the people who hire me every day, buying your home is usually the first step and the step to building generational wealth for your family. And what you said, it was literally the example. I mean, if your aunt doesn't buy that house and then leaves it to you so that you and your sister can sell it, that literally is the definition of generational wealth that then paid off her loans, which her career, I'm assuming, is great. It gave you a down payment, whatever. Right. That generational build, like them mentioning that, I don't know, it just really resonated with me. And
Yeah.
here we are literally talking about it. And like, my grandfather didn't necessarily give me that money because of a home he bought. He
Sure.
decided to be extremely intelligently frugal and save my grandmother's higher paycheck, and they lived off his lower paycheck, and they got married at 19, and they did that for 65 years. Yeah, your face is correct. It's a different generation.
Right.
You know, war, for fuck's sake. I mean, literally,
Yeah.
he would have been over there if they didn't discover his eye issue, you know,
Sure.
so they sent him to the Brooklyn Naval Yard. But like, it's just, you know, different generational styles of growing up. Ages
Right.
are drastically different, but the generational wealth thing doesn't change.
Right.
That is legit. And, you know, he passed away, at least according to what he told me, he passed away having fulfilled his long life dream, which was sending all 4 grandkids to college. And we got out of college with no debt. He was
Right.
like, that's what I want to do. And he did it.
That's awesome.
And then he was still able to leave you know, us enough cash where I took some of it to down payment this house and start a construction business. You know,
Right.
I bought my pickup truck with, nope, that's not true. I bought my pickup truck with insurance when I crashed my other car, but he bought me that first car.
Sure.
It all
Right.
goes back to Grandpa Les.
Yeah.
Just right there. Yeah. No, I don't think that you should hide it, and I don't think that you should be embarrassed by it.
Right.
There's
No, not at
nothing
all.
wrong with accepting some family help, and there's also, like, you didn't take an inheritance and turn it into a Lamborghini and cocaine
Right.
and blow it up your nose in a party scene in Miami. Like,
Right.
you bought a home, arguably the most responsible thing you could have done with some money left to you.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, if anything, you should be judged positively on that.
Right.
Like, you had the ability to just be like, well, I'm just going to party. You know,
Yeah.
I got 20 grand or whatever the number was.
And I've definitely heard from some people like a little resentment, people who don't have that option.
For sure.
And you know, and I get that. I
They
would
have a
feel the
right
same
to be
way.
jealous.
Absolutely.
They have a right to be jealous.
Right.
You
Like,
should be.
I'm
It would
very
be
fortunate. And
it would be
the
really
position I'm
nice
in
if
is
money
great.
just appeared.
Right.
To be blind to that fact would just be stupid on our point.
Right.
Like,
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to try to be like deceitful and say like, I'm a girl boss. I bought this house all by myself at my age. Like, that's
well,
not the case.
all those things are true, but you
For
still got
sure.
some help from your parents, and that's
Right.
also you were girl boss enough to,
Right.
again, like I just said, not waste it on some stupid shit.
Right.
You don't sit here in Versace with gold and diamonds, driving a Lamborghini,
Yeah.
with no money in the bank and no home. Like,
Yeah.
that, you made very responsible, intelligent decisions because of the
Thanks.
way you were raised, and I like to think I did the same thing.
Yeah.
But again, you know, your friends should be jealous. They should still be your friends
Sure.
and be respectful. But I'd almost be weirded out if they weren't like, oh man, that would be nice.
Right.
Yeah, it is nice. It would be nice.
Right.
But you can't pretend it's not there.
Right,
That's
absolutely. Yeah,
weird.
It was funny when I first went under contract for the house. I wanted to make a post about it on Facebook, and I called my mom and I was like, "How do you want me to frame this?" I was like, I can say we're buying a house. I can say you're helping me buy a house. I don't want you to think that I'm trying to cut you out of it. Like I said, I'm trying to be transparent, because especially like if my buyers see, like my clients see, I'm not, trying to claim that I'm got all my shit together and that I'm just doing this by myself. I want people to understand that, like, if that's your situation, if people feel weird about like sharing their financial situation, I'm doing this, I could have done this. Like, I just want people to understand that everybody's in a different situation, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm, pretending that I've got more money than I have.
Yo,
basically.
I did this I did this with a gift from my grandfather, and my parents still had to co-sign my mortgage.
Oh,
I
my
didn't even
parents
mention
co-signed mine
that.
too.
I didn't even mention that. I didn't do
Yeah.
this myself at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny. I was talking to my lender, and, my parents were always going to co-sign on the mortgage because I have great credit, but as a realtor, it's very hard to see a history of your salary.
I mean, I bought a house like less than 4 years out of college. So I had
Right.
like not enough work history.
Right.
And I was like, well, I have financials, I have investments, my credit was in the 800s, and they were
Right.
like, we really don't even care.
Right,
And
I'm
I was
like, I
like,
can
what do you
show-
mean you don't even care?
At the point when we were getting closer to closing, my lender was like, honestly, my job would have been easier if you weren't on this. They're like, you being here actually just, like, your parents could
100%.
just get this loan no matter what.
The
Like,
same
having
thing
to
was said to
factor
us.
in you. Because it's like, I had 10 years of bartending, which doesn't have a steady
Doesn't count
pay
at all.
And some of it's, off the books. And then 3 years, one of which was, taking unemployment checks. 2 years of working in real estate, but there's no like, this is what I get every 2 weeks. This is what I'm guaranteed to make to qualify for a mortgage.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult. He was like, he's like, I understand why you want to be on it. And at this point, like all the payments, I'm making the payments.
Yeah, I'm in the same
and
boat.
I'll be building
I make every
mortgageability,
yeah.
right? But it was just pretty funny. He was like, "Yeah, no, like honestly, including all your information just made this more complicated."
Yeah. I have since refinanced, and now they are off it.
Yeah.
Like when I did the refinance, I don't know the difference on the like how they measure risk, but not a terribly large amount has changed.
Right.
So I'm not really sure how they were just like, okay, you're basically the same on paper. We can
Right.
pull your parents off and refinance and just be you. But like, the bill used to come like, you need to pay this monthly mortgage to Beth and Corbett.
Right.
Now it just comes to Corbett
Right.
since the refi. But they paid 0 payments.
Yeah.
They paid 0 of the 20% down. That came from the gift from my grandfather. And my dad gave me exactly $5,000 because this house was $170,000 when I bought it. And somebody came in at 170 as well. And my dad said, go to 175. It's too good to lose it. I'll give you the $5,000.
Nice.
And I went, okay.
Okay.
And exactly, we got it at 175. And I mean, this house is 350 plus right now if I went to sell
Crazy,
it,
man.
beyond even factoring in
Yeah.
like, there was no tile bathrooms, there was no solar panels, there was no
Right.
fenced in yard. I got a tankless water heater. Like I've done a lot of stuff. I built that carport. Like it's completely changed this home. But that, again, I don't think you should feel any shame.
No.
And I don't
my
think you
parents
should
are
hide
also splitting my mortgage payment. So we own the house 50-50. That, so about
Your
a month,
family bought a home.
Right. About a month before I found out I had to buy something, my parents had been talking about buying a home up here as an investment property, Airbnb-ing it, and I would take care of it. And then when they came to visit, they'd have a place to stay so they could come for more than, a weekend.
So you better make that guest room real nice for them.
Well, so the basement is what we ended up doing is the basement is going to be where they stay. They bought the furniture for it. They furnished it. And then they'll just kind of plan their trips around when if I do a travel nurse, because it's 3 months at a time, then I'll have an opening where they can come for, like, they want to be able to come and stay for like 2 weeks, which, having their own space is great for that. But so originally they were already going to buy an investment property. So then I got this phone call and I called my mom and I was like, so how about you invest in me, your probably second favorite child? Like, let's see what would happen. And then we kind of started discussing it. And so they look at this home as an investment for them. When we sell it, they'll get half the profits. It's fully, they're going to get their investment back, but they basically, so we're splitting the mortgage payments every month. We split the down payment. Everything's 50-50 for the foreseeable future. I mean, maybe at some point I'll want to buy them out of their
who
half.
knows? Yeah.
But as of right now, because we had a pretty sizable down payment because they matched what I had from my great aunt, my mortgage payments are pretty low. I'm honestly paying about the same as I was monthly, including taxes and insurance, at my old rental.
Nice. Yeah.
So
that was the big thing for me too. And I was like, well, I'm paying at the time. I needed a $90 a month garage at my apartment complex for all of my power tools. And I think it was like $1,200 all in. And then I bought this house and I was like, I didn't escrow the taxes, but still I was paying like $625 a month.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I lost 20% down, but I'm saving and building equity. Like this is the move.
Yeah.
But also, like, I got to point out, and anybody who's listening to this, hopefully you listened to the previous podcast with the 2 mortgage experts, you don't need 20% down anymore.
No, you don't.
So, like, you don't have to even have a gift from your grandfather.
Right.
My friend Tyrone got out of jail like 3 years ago, and he owns a home. He put like 3% down.
Yeah, it's the first time you can get to as low as 3%.
And he's doing great. He started a trucking company, like complete life change.
Right.
But the point I'm highlighting is 3% down. This false narrative of 20% down is the only way.
Right.
It's just not true. And
I think that also, you really have to find a lender who you can talk to, who you trust.
Yes.
I think that's a huge thing.
Yes.
Because I've got a bunch of people and they've been telling me there's all these different programs. And if they're just if you're just a nameless, faceless client to them, they might not spend the time to explain to you. There are down payment assistance programs. There's so much out there for people to try to, work and figure out what the best situation is for them
It's
as far
because
as
it
their down
doesn't
payment and their
benefit them
monthly.
as a lender,
Right.
because they get some percentage of some, so
Right.
it doesn't benefit them as much. That's why I loved Kim and Kate yesterday, because they were like, we just care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we do this for a living, sure, but like, we just care. And then
Right.
freaking Kat jumps in and is just like, yeah, I get this little like happy dance when I finally did it, and like all these programs. And I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, they don't deal with the new construction loan turning into a mortgage that I will eventually
Sure.
need when I bought land. So I'm going to build a home. So I'm probably going to have to do that. But, back to your point of finding a lender who will work with you,
Right.
who, every human is different from every other human, and every loan circumstance is therefore different and should be treated accordingly. It's no longer a world of like one size fits all. Everything
Right.
is customized to you, and that's the way it should be. We're all so different. Every circumstance
Right.
is very different. I mean, even yours and mine, we could be like kind of lumped into we got help from our family, but even between us, very different.
Yeah.
I don't split the down payment. I didn't split the down payment. I don't split the monthly thing. Like, it's just, and my parents don't stay here.
Yeah.
They did for a little while before the gym was a guest room,
Right.
and they would come and stay, for like a week. They came for so long. My dad was like, take the company credit card and get a TV in that room now. I'll be there tomorrow. I want a TV. And I was like, yes, sir. And like he used, then the next visit, they do a week at my brother's house. He lives like 30 minutes away. And the family dynamic got like fractured and strained. So we had to stop doing that. And we were like, look, it's not working. The boundaries are being overstepped, lines are being crossed, and, you're treating our home like your home, and it's not okay.
Right.
And that blow up is now since long gone, and everyone's on great terms, but they have a Durham house now.
Right.
They literally were like, okay, what's the solution? We're going to get a hotel for a week, 7 times a year,
Right.
rent a car, like all this stuff. And they were like, what if we bought 1,100 square feet, 1.5 bedrooms, 2 baths with no lawn, downtown Durham? And it's exactly what they did. My dad can walk to the baseball park, and he's a baseball nut. So he was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Everything else for the wife.
great.
I just need to walk to the Bulls. We were like, we can make that happen.
Yeah.
And, they couldn't be happier, and it allows them to come visit. None of the boundaries get crossed. Hey, we'd love to see you Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. But you know what? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't want you to wake up at 5 and be in my kitchen watching CNN on full blast.
Right.
I want to wake up when I wake up, and that's fine. But it just, that's what needed to happen. And, now they're actually designing a house across the street that they're going to move into, because they want more space for the grandkids that my brother gave them.
That's awesome.
So it's interesting how it worked out. But every circumstance is just so unique. So unique, it's redundant almost. But it's just, you can't lump people in. That's how it used to be.
Right.
And things are changing very much towards the like personalized customer care
Right.
that I think it should be.
And I think what that boils down to for me is what you said. I just care, which is why I prefer working with first-time home buyers, because I really want to get and be a part of this huge thing for them. I love seeing them, the pride they get from buying their first home. I love working with investors too. It's a totally different thing. Finding a home that would be a good Airbnb or a good rental home is a totally different process than finding the home that you love, that you're going to live in, that you're so excited about, that you are going to show everyone, that you're so proud of.
Yeah.
For me, the process of helping someone find that home is what I love doing about the job. That's my favorite part of this job, is helping find their dream home. I think when I first started, I was people are like, why do you want to do real estate? I was I just think I want to help people realize these dreams that are such a huge deal. And I want to be a part of that huge part of someone's life. I didn't get into it to help some investment company buy their 60th home, but I'm also, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that. But the thing that gets me going and gets me up in the morning is finding somebody, even if it's not their first, doesn't have to be first time home. somebody who's starting a family needs a bigger home.
I wanted to ask you that because
like
you're new to real estate. So have you had a lot, just because hasn't been that much time
Sure.
and it takes 9 months to have a baby.
Right.
Have you had a lot of like first time home buyers be like, hey, we need our next home. Can you find us our next home?
Not yet. I haven't had any like
it's been short
clients like that. I've
Give
had
it 5
clients
years,
who,
they'll come back.
I've had clients who, when I started working with them, were either trying to or were pregnant, who were buying their home because they needed more space.
So they were moving from their first time home that you did not help them with.
That I did
you were
not.
like,
Yes.
You're helping us find our first home with a kid.
Yeah.
Which is still exciting.
Right. Like their parents had been my clients. I got their parents a condo downtown, and then they recommended me to their son. And then I started working with the son, and he was like, yeah, my wife is expecting and we're looking to find something bigger. So I started working with them as well. I mean, I assume I'd like to think if they were to buy another home later, their family's getting even bigger, I think they would come back and call me. And, that's the biggest compliment.
One would
someone
hope.
wants to use you again.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when I get
or referring
repeat,
you to their friends, saying they trusted you, they liked what you did.
When I get
repeat
work from customers, it's really nice. Like this one lady, Marianne Green, she basically her handyman, because she's had a home that's been perfectly built for however long, but it's just like it's to the point where it's like I don't have to price this.
Right.
Like you need 5 shelves put up. Okay, I'll charge her my hourly rate, and everybody's fine. It's like, so it's just so nice. And then I'll get a text out of the blue moon. Hey, I sent your number to Jill. You might hear from her. Like, great, thank you.
I love when I get
I
those.
love when tell Jill I'm around.
Right.
Like,
I'm like, can you actually give Jill my number? Because Jill might not. I would like to reach out. Or give me her number. I would like to reach out to her because that was something I've had to get used to. When I see people out and I start talking about real estate and I give them my card, I'm like, I should have gotten their information.
Right.
I need to get better at getting their information because then I can reach out to them and like not be a bother, but maybe they lost my card or they forgot, or I can be like, hey, it was so great to meet you the other day. If you ever want to talk about real estate, I'm here. And then they have my contact saved when I've sent them that. It's definitely a better way of I've definitely felt like I've missed out on a couple clients because they were so into it and I was talking to them and I gave them my card and then I was like, I should have gotten their number.
Do you think I should adopt this myself?
Yes.
Because I give my card they're like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about a deck, and I'm like, cha-ching, here's my card.
I would definitely start getting their
like, give me your phone, I'll call you, send you some pictures.
Or like, what's your number? I'll text you right now so that you have their number. I think it's a way more proactive way about going after people without, I'm never going to spam someone. I think the biggest fear that I have is looking super salesy or like annoying someone to the point where they're like, oh my God, I would never use this person because they're so disingenuous and like salesy and gross. I hate that. That is my biggest fear, that someone's going to see me that way in this business.
I've gotten rid of subcontractors because of that.
There are people who I see their posts online and I only follow them because I'm like disgusted. And I like watch their feed. And I'm like, oh my God, I would never use that person for what they're trying to sell because I hate the way that they're doing it.
I had a sub.
And it just feels so fake. And
he would text me like every 8 days, I guess, because he didn't have
like you're on their schedule.
And he was like, hey, do you have any work? Do you have any work? You're like, bro, you think I'm holding out? You think I've got work? You think there's money on the table that I'm not taking because I don't like? Let me get a job.
Yeah.
And then when I need you, I will call you. You will be on the top of the list. But this like weekly hounding because you priced one job that we simply didn't get because the homeowner had no idea that it would be 10 grand and they had $5,000 in the budget. And I was like, I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
You need a budget contractor and I'm not a budget contractor.
Right.
Yeah. FYI, anybody listening, I'm never the cheapest contractor.
Yeah.
Because I do the best work. So like, just know that if you're looking for value and speed, at the same time, call somebody without a license.
Yeah.
They'll do some shitty work, and then you'll call me to do it right. But I'm the guy who does it right the first time. I don't have time for that other crap. But it's like that hounding is nobody wants that.
Right. So I don't want to be that person, but I do think that if I had like randomest story, I ordered from GoPuff. They like deliver random stuff.
Yeah,
ordered GoPuff on like a Saturday night a couple weeks ago. And the guy came, it was the wrong order. He like just drove off and I was like, oh, this is the wrong thing. So I called and they're like, oh, we're so sorry. Keep whatever we randomly gave you. We're going to send another guy out with your order. I was like, great, thanks. So the other guy comes. I happen to be out walking my dog when he shows up. So it's like, hey man, by the way, like props to you. Cause the first guy took an hour and a half and he brought the wrong order. You got here in 20 minutes and you brought the right thing. Just want you to let you know, like you're doing a great job. And then he was kind of lingering around outside. He's like, oh, is this a new neighborhood? And I was like, oh, yeah, it's all new construction. I just bought this home I'm also, I happen to be a realtor. If you're looking, that'd be great. The house two doors down, still for sale. I want to be my neighbor. And he was super into it. He's like, oh my God, yeah, that'd be great. And I was like, okay, let me go get you a card. And then because I had just moved in, I had no idea where my business cards were. So I scrambled around my house. He was standing outside. I wrote my name and phone number on a piece of paper and ripped it and gave it to him. I was like, I know this is super sketchy. I swear I'm an actual real estate agent. I was like, I know this is really unprofessional. And he was like, what's a good time to call? I'm going to call you tomorrow. And I was like, sometime after 9 a.m. That'd be great. And then I never heard from him. But if I had gotten his number in that moment, I could have texted him the next day. Hey, it was great meeting you last night. If you ever want to talk about real estate, I'm here. Here's
No
a couple
pressure.
listings that are in the similar neighborhood in the area. And so I could have made it, obvious that I'm willing to do the work. I could send you a message with 4 listings that you might like, maybe you don't, but it gets the conversation started. Whereas he never called me and I have no idea what his name is. And I tried to call GoPuff and they wouldn't give me his information.
Of course not. Yeah.
Which is totally, respectful of them.
Like they should not have.
Right. But I think that to get myself more in
How many creepy dudes have
Right.
a hot delivery female driver and are like,
Sure.
oh,
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell her
said she
her
wanted to
car
be-
was nice. Yeah, or
Right.
what? I just want
Yeah.
to take her for a coffee. Dude,
Yeah.
go away. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm like, man, I missed out on that opportunity and I have to get myself more in the, also was just wasn't prepared for a real estate pitch at that time.
Yeah.
You got to be always prepared.
Yeah, you
always
want
selling
your
yourself.
Twizzlers.
Right. Yeah. You got to be selling yourself all the time without being gross about it.
I feel like that's what my Instagram's for.
Yeah.
Like, you want to see what I can do? You want to see that dope pergola I built? It's on Instagram.
Right.
That's, if you don't think that's good
But
enough.
if you can get that person's number, then you can text them, hey, this is my Instagram, check out my work.
That's true. No, I'm not denying what you're saying at all.
You got to be, I've done it tons of times, just giving out my card and be like, oh, it's so great meeting you, walk away, hope they call, they never do. Which is I'm in the same, if I get someone's card and I'm super into it, maybe the next day I forget, maybe it's not something that's at the top of my mind, and then by the time I think about it, I can't find that card. Can't remember their name, can't look them up, whatever.
You can tell me right away if I'm going to call you, because if I take your card and I put it in my pocket, I'm throwing it away when you turn around.
Exactly.
If I take that card and I put it in my wallet, you're going to hear from me.
Right.
That's for me, that's the universal.
Right.
Because the wallets, or the pockets rather, they're useless. But
You find that later and you're like, stupid.
but the leather wallet,
trash.
if there's a business card behind the credit card, that card's there for a reason.
Yeah.
And I want to call that person. And it literally happened at the Container Store. I'm going to have her on next week.
That's
She's a
the
professional
Mecca.
organizer. I know. I love that
Container
place.
Store.
I don't have the budget for it anymore.
Same.
But it is great inspiration. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God. Yeah. But I literally met a professional organizer who was shopping with someone
God.
else's credit card.
Oh, that's the dream.
And I was like, I want your job.
Me too.
/ she helped Jen find some cupboards or some things for her drawers. And I was like, hey, I'm a contractor. Can I have your card? And I gave her my card. She whipped out her card. And I was like, I'm going to text you. You want to go on a podcast? And I'm just going to come on next week. It's going to be great. Yeah. So just to finish up on the new construction.
Yes.
What are the things you really don't like about it?
I definitely think at the end it was a little rushed. And there are honestly still a few things that need to be done in my house. And I've been speaking to the site manager. I got the cabinets done and some of them are supposed to have glass panes and the glass is just not there.
So
and
it's just open.
It's just open right now. And I'm like, he's like, it'll be a while. The glass will come. And I'm like, okay. But that's not a complete house that I bought. And my oven is sitting, there's an inch gap between where the oven and the cabinetry is that needs to be either the oven needs to be moved up or the cabinet needs to be replaced or something. And I keep saying hey man, needs to happen. And it just keeps not happening. They're super busy. They're finishing 40 other residences right now. I get it. But there are things like that. And he said, after about a month of living here, take all the notes of any little thing and I'll come back and I'll fix all those things. Okay, that's great. And then at the year mark, same thing. At 1 year, I'm going to have another actual inspection done at a year and they're going to come and they have a 1 year warranty.
I was going to say,
on the
do it
house.
11 months.
Right. Yeah. Not the actual. Right.
Yeah. At a year, they're going to say, too bad.
Yeah. But so I'm going to have an inspection done, make sure they take care of every little thing that could possibly be on them. Anything they could possibly fix, I'm going to have it done.
I'm surprised, even those 2 things, I'm surprised that they got a final CO.
I know, and they almost didn't. The whole thing was so stressful. So they pushed my closing date 3 different times where I had booked movers and booked the Wi-Fi people to come in. And then they called me a week before and said, we're so sorry, not everything's done. We're going to have to push it. And I was like, fine. And then,
and here's a bill for my mover.
Right. And I was luckily the mover didn't charge me to reschedule, but I was I have to call my landlord and make sure they're okay with me staying an extra week. So finally they said, all right, we're closing January 20th. And I said, all right, cool. My parents booked a flight to fly up to help me move. We're all ready. I got the movers booked. I got every different little thing. My deliveries from stores. I bought a mattress for the basement. Mattress is getting delivered. All this stuff. And so we're closing at 2:30 p.m. At 12:30, he calls and he says, hey, the guy who was supposed to come do the CO is out sick and there's nothing we can do. We're not going to get it. You can't close today. And I said, all right, man, I've been so chill. You've pushed it all these other times. You keep telling me we're closing. You keep not doing it. I've been like really cool about it, but this is not okay.
That's also a lie.
I was like, you're right.
That's a lie.
I'm like, this is unacceptable.
You can't get a CO and close on a house in the same day.
Right.
That CO an inspection has to occur. It takes 24 hours to go into the computer. Like that's just a lie. That's just a lie.
Yeah. So I was just like, this is unacceptable. I have my car is loaded with a load of things to go to the house. Like we're closing in 2 hours, man. Like we're doing this. And so, he says, I guess let me see what I can do. And then he pulls out, oh, we got it. Never mind. It's fine. And I was like, okay, fine. So we closed that day because I was like, this is happening, and we made it happen. But there are definitely a few things that I would have loved to have let them have the house for an extra week. But I also, at that point, I had to just move. It was probably my bad for booking the move the day after closing. But at that point, I had to be out of the house I was in because my lease was ending.
Yes and no, because you push it 3 times for punch list stuff. Like, just get your shit together if you want to be in the home building.
And like I said, I lived right by there, so I kept going there. And so every time it would get to be a week before closing, and I was like, this isn't done in a week. I was like, I can tell that this is not going to be done in a week. And I was like, but they keep saying that this is the date. Are you sure? It doesn't look like it. I can push it right now, but if you wait 4 days, it's going to be way more complicated for me to push this again.
Of course, they never tell you it's not until the day before.
I know.
I've came close just once, and it was we failed the final inspection for 5 things that were so small I can't even remember. And I literally went there the next day and fixed it all. And then I called the tenants and I was like, hey, you're planning to move in tomorrow. I just called in for an inspection today, which means they will come tomorrow. But they could come at 8:01 or they could come at 4:59.
Right.
And they don't even give you a 4-hour window like a delivery truck.
Right.
And I was like, I don't even know what to tell you. And they were like, look, we're going to show up with 2 small SUVs at 2 in the afternoon. And I was like, I'm going to sit there from 8 a.m. I'm going to bring a camp chair and sit on the front deck. And I swear to God, at 11:45, no, it was later. It was 12:45. The inspector shows up. At this point, they literally just want to see that only those 5 things were fixed. So he's like, check, and check. You're good. And I swear, 15 minutes later, Dean and Lauren rolled up with their stuff. And I was like, I got it. Here's the CO. You can move in. Here's your keys. Done. They already paid their deposit and whatever because I'm their landlord now.
Right.
This was different, obviously, because there's no closing. It's just I get that CO right then and there, and I am done.
Yeah.
Ready to move in. Easy.
Yeah, so, we were at the closing attorney's office at 2:30. We'd filled out, we'd signed everything, and then we had to sit there, and they wouldn't give us the keys. We were waiting for that CO to come in. So, by 4:30, we were all so stressed out because it was so last minute, and we were like, this isn't going to happen, but it has to happen. So my parents and I sat in this attorney's office for an hour and a half, dead silent. We're all just on our phones. So we didn't even celebrate that we closed on the house.
Right.
The entire weekend, we went straight into moving mode.
Because you're just angry.
We were pissed and cranky. And we went straight into, we didn't take a single photo. We were never we bought a house. Nothing. Which is why I waited a month to even post about it. Because I was so stressed by the way that it happened. And so then, we just sat there in total silence. And just, my mom would be like, can you go ask them what's happening? And I was like, they'll tell us. They're going to come in and tell us. They're not
waiting for an inspector that they don't know when is going to arrive.
And so finally at 4:30, they were like, all right, here's your keys. Here's everything. We're all good. You're closed. It's all good. And so we had already packed my car with a load of stuff. So we went straight from the lawyers to the new house. Weren't even oh my God, this is my house. We were just get this stuff in while it's daylight. It gets dark so early. We want to make 3 more trips with the car before the movers come in the morning. So then we just went into moving mode. The movers came the next day. The unpacking started. And then my parents left. They were only here for the weekend. So then they just kind of left. And I was like, well, I guess, we bought this house and I live here now. But I was I kind of missed the opportunity to be super stoked about it.
Yeah, you didn't have the stereotypical cheap champagne in a
Right.
solo cup. Like that's what
Right.
you're supposed to do. You're
Yeah.
supposed to you're supposed to drink
Yeah.
cheap champagne in a red solo cup in the living room, standing with no furniture,
Right.
and then sleep your first night on the floor.
Right.
Like that's part of
No,
the.
we didn't do any of
Yeah,
that.
I remember my brother and I and my sister-in-law Emma. We did the classic cheap champagne. Like she came over with it, and I slept on my couch. I like gross because I couldn't shower because I had
Right.
no shower curtain, and I had to wake up the next day and be like, I need 3 trash cans, 2 shower curtains, and like
The essentials.
soap. I was like,
Yeah.
I need, like, what happened? Where it's all packed away. I was
Right.
like, I need a shower, and then I need to hang up 47 pictures. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, and then you go into like full home nesting mode, and you're like,
Oh, I didn't leave my house for like 3 weeks. My friends were like, do you want to come hang out? I'm like, no, I just want to sit in my beautiful house
Yeah.
and think about where everything's going to go.
yeah, I want to organize this drawer.
I want to
They're like,
shop
"What'd you
for
say?"
dressers online for 7 hours and not buy one. That's what I want to do tonight.
IKEA couch. I recommend it for
Yeah.
sure.
So my parents are coming back up the end of next week. They're going to drive up. They have a U-Haul that's like a bunch of my grandma's old random furniture that I honestly don't really want, but my mom wants to get it out of her house, so it's coming to me. And we're going to go to IKEA. We're going to do a trip. We're going to do, they were here for 3 days. We weren't going to make one of those days
Oh yeah.
a trip to IKEA. But
No,
now
it's a whole day. It's
they're
2.5
coming
hours.
for a whole week.
you, it's further.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost 3 hours for
Yeah.
you to get to IKEA.
I told them it was 2 so that they'd agree to go. It's just
Well,
going to be 3, and
just,
they'll just be
just,
already
just make sure it happens before this comes out
right.
in a month.
They'll just be
Yeah.
in the car already, and they won't have
in
to.
the most
I
comfortable
was like,
U-Haul.
It's like 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's fine. Well, they're driving their own car, but they have a U-Haul little trailer.
and your dad's gonna be like, I have a GPS because I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
And it says 3 hours,
right.
honey.
And I'm like, shh, everything's fine.
Yeah, that's with traffic. Yeah, don't worry about
We
it.
need lamps. But
We
I
need
don't-
lamps.
We need so many lamps.
I'm a huge IKEA fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've
That's
got it's that Swedish.
Finnish. No, Swedish. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Swedish style. It's like very, simple, clean lines. I dig it.
A very European style. Just minimalist, a
Yeah.
lot, clean, small,
Yeah.
and like somehow some of their things are unbeatable. Some
Right.
of their stuff is
Some of their stuff
garbage.
is straight trash.
Yeah, like I wouldn't buy a wardrobe for my clothes from there
Anything that
if
is
you
made of
paid
their
me.
particle board is straight trash.
But for example, when I'm doing a house, I've talked about it, Braxton Street up the road, full gut, blew out 2 walls, full renovation. Took it down to the studs and everything in it is brand new. And I'll go to IKEA just to get the sinks.
Right.
Just to get 2 bathroom and 1 kitchen sink because it's like it's a better looking sink. That statement is my opinion. That's an opinion. But what is not an opinion is it's a very nice working sink and it's half the price of a similar size sink at Home Depot or Lowe's.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute. This is a porcelain thing with a drain. Like,
Right.
what
Like
are we?
it can't be that much worse.
Yeah, not worse. They're the same.
Right.
I've had that IKEA sink in 10 years old in houses I rent out.
Yeah.
And it's like, the sink's the sink.
Like this kind of stuff from IKEA is great, but it doesn't survive a
No.
move.
No.
The second you try to move it, all the pegs get loose and all the things, and it just kind of crumbles.
Yeah.
It's fine. When you build it, it sits here. It's fine. It does the job.
My brother
The second
told me
you try
that
to move it, they're donezo.
my brother told me that a good trick when assembling IKEA stuff is wood glue.
I've heard that,
Add a
and
bunch.
I haven't made anything since I heard that, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it next time for
Me
sure.
too. Yeah.
Is glue all those pegs because they just get loose and all the
Yeah. All those things that just like slowly unloosen. And
yeah
can
anything
just,
you
like,
have to use an Allen wrench and not a screwdriver.
Yeah.
Usually going to be a not so quality piece of furniture. If they can't even expect you to have a screwdriver to build it, they give you the little tiny Allen wrench in the kit.
I don't think I've ever used an IKEA tool, but I'm also
Yeah.
a contractor. So
Sure.
I'm like, I have real Allen wrenches
Yeah.
and a drill. So we're not going to
Yeah,
use.
I just bought a bed from Wayfair, and my friend and I started putting it together, and we're using the tiny, stupid Allen wrench, and I was like, my thumbs hurt. And then I was like, you know what? I have a drill, and I think it has a bit that fits the Allen wrench. And we had done like 4 or 5 of the screws at this point, and I went downstairs, and I came back, and the rest of it took 7 minutes. Like, we threw it together so fast. It's like, it's just so much easier.
One time I didn't
Oh, my
have
God.
the Allen wrench adapter for my drill. So I took a metal hacksaw and I cut the Allen wrench at the bend
Yeah.
to create a straight
There you go.
piece.
Stick
And I
it in the
just
drill.
put it in the chuck of my
Perfect.
drill, not my impact driver. And I
Yeah.
was like, problem solved. I'm not saving this Allen wrench.
Right.
Like, but that's why you have a hacksaw.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of drills and things, I'm going to ask not on the podcast, but I just want you to help me pick out. I need tools.
Oh,
I
yeah.
need tools for owning a home.
That's an entire
I don't have
episode
very many
that I'm
tools,
gonna
yeah.
probably do,
Lots of
but
tools.
I'll hook you up for sure. Yeah.
I'm thinking Ryobi, but you know.
No, you're not.
Okay.
You're removing that immediately from your brain. That is the definition of garbage.
Interesting.
Yeah. And this is honestly not a contractor. This is a person who knows tools.
Sure,
it's
sure.
garbage. Like you don't need contractor grade Milwaukee tools. Let's be clear.
Yeah,
But you do not buy Ryobi. And anybody listening, if you own Ryobi, you're a lesser person.
Damn.
You're a bad human being
That's
for
a hot
buying
take.
that garbage. I know people who work at customer service at Home Depot, and 98% of their calls are a problem with a Ryobi product. This is a fact. This is not my opinion.
Yeah, sure.
DeWalt.
See, I'm glad I mentioned it.
DeWalt. And I'm a Rigid guy. I have Rigid brand stuff. All this orange, well, nothing's visual right here except for that charger. But like all my power tools are Rigid because I was so sold on orange because it's my color.
I know I like the green of the Ryobi. That's really what has caught my attention.
Don't let it fool you.
I will say though that the main reason I want the Ryobi tools as a whole is because I want the Ryobi lawnmower that uses 2 of like the drill batteries to run it.
Yeah.
Because then those batteries are then interchangeable with all their other tools.
DeWalt's got that. So
really?
just go DeWalt.
Is the
100%.
lawnmower affordable?
That part I don't know because I don't
the
do my
Ryobi
own
one's only
lawn.
like $200.
There's a reason they're cheaper. Look, you can buy whatever you want. You're a grown adult.
I've never mowed a lawn in my life, and I just want to do it the easiest way possible.
You should just call my landscaper and have him do it for you for $40 a mow.
$40. That's not bad.
Well, I don't know how big your lawn is.
It's
but
not that. It's like a quarter acre, less than a quarter acre.
Yeah, it's probably like $40-$50. Yeah, and you only do it half the year anyway. And I'm just saying.
Sure.
I used to. I had
discussion for another time.
Yeah, I had a big ass riding mower.
Yeah.
And I did it for a while.
No, I've never pushed a lawnmower.
And then
not once in my life.
I was like, I don't know. I just didn't feel like doing it. And then we for all these rental properties, we have a lawn guy, and I was like, hey, I'm already giving you like 9 or something. How like what's my house and what's my house with the fact you're already doing it? And he was like, well, since I'm already doing, I can do them all for a discount. And I was like, that's what I thought. Just put my parents on, put mine on. Like let's just this is all part of the company expense. But as someone who owns Rigid brand tools, I would still say go DeWalt.
Interesting.
Yeah, that yellow's been around for a while and is not going anywhere.
All right.
If you were a contractor, I would probably say DeWalt is still okay. And then Milwaukee seems to be just Milwaukee and Bosch. Those are really high level.
Yeah.
High level. If you were like the type of furniture I wish I could make, I would recommend Festool, which is probably a company most people listening are like, I don't even know what that is. And that's a different shade of green, but they don't have to worry about it because their tools are 8 times the price because they're only for like, I make professional dovetail cabinets every day, and I need this fancy router.
Yeah, no, I'm just like, I want a drill. I want a laser level, a stud finder, pretty basic stuff.
Yeah.
I need a lawnmower, unfortunately. That's kind of it, I guess. I can't think of anything.
I mean, it's not
I just bought a sander at the Habitat Restore for $10. Black & Decker sander that works.
Black & Decker, unfortunately, terrible brand as well. But,
Well,
it was a used sander. It's $10.
Right, and I'm just going to use it to refinish some furniture. So be
And it's probably going to be fine. Just get good sandpaper.
There you go.
But that's a perfect place to end it, I think, there.
So
and we'll help you. We'll get you some tools.
Okay,
We'll get you some
let's
tools.
get some tools.
Everybody listening, look out for a what tools you should buy as a homeowner episode because that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to do
You're
that.
welcome.
All right. Bye, everybody.
See ya.